My grandfather's name was George Patrick O'Keefe. He was nicknamed the Boxer, and most people called him Patrick. George was his first name, but Patrick is, I don't know, more or less what he was called. He had some Irish in him, as well as English. He served in the British Army from 1930 to 1945. For the first 9 years, he was in India. Doing what? I have no idea. Good chance he was probably bumping people off. Who knows? I have no idea, and there's no way I could find out. It's just impossible to find out what he was up to. I'd be interested to know because I know men of higher standing do know. From my general opinion, not opinion, but from what my dad's told me, he was well liked. Uh, he did well in a boxing tournament of 50 men. He came in second. And you got to remember, this is a man with bronchitis. He had it his whole life, and that's what ended up killing him when he was 48. I think that was sometime in the early 60s when he died. I think. My dad was only 15 at the time. Um, yeah, the British colonial rule in India. It was an interesting part of history that there's not much information on. I mean, I'm sure you could go to school and learn about it, and maybe I will do that someday. Um, because I had other relatives that were in India as well on my mother's side. My great grandfather was there. Um, I had what would be my great great uncle, Jack, was in Afghanistan and near the Khyber Pass and that whole kind of region. He was a corporal, whereas my grandfather was master sergeant, which today I think they're paid something like $80,000 a year. That isn't bad going. Um, yeah, the whole war scene, the whole military politics was different back then. I'm sure it was quite outdated and dinosaur-like in a way, how they ran the military back then, because they didn't take certain things into consideration. They're definitely, the British had allies in India, or else there's just no way they would be there for so long. I know a lot of the gold and jewels and things like that and precious stones were taken out of India and came back to England. Um, yeah, again, a lot of that's going to be hidden in vaults or in museums or something like that, so no one will really know. Um, I would just like to see a documentary about the English campaign in India and see how that whole thing went. Because it's a big, long story. I mean, the British were there for 400 years, and I know close to nothing. I've only seen a few pictures of my grandfather. Apparently, there's one where he's holding a cobra in the air. It's dead, of course, but still quite an amazing picture, and I've never seen it. I think one of my uncles or something like that has it in England somewhere. Um, yeah, so he was in India from 1930 to 1939. Could never eat another bowl of rice ever again. He refused to afterwards. I guess because he had it every single day. Because I doubt they were very well fed. As is modern armies. I think they only get like one meal a day, those guys who are in Iraq. At least I heard that from some movie I watched anyway. It's probably true though. Uh, yeah, when I tell people about my grandfather in India, I like to say that he was SAS. He probably wasn't, but I know so little. You know what? I'm going to tell people he was SAS. That's what I'm going to do. He very well could have been. It's possible. And with what limited information I have, I'm gonna make the story a little more interesting. I'm sure it is an interesting story, but you can't go to ancestry.ca and learn about this stuff. Not that he was Canadian, he was English, but you know what I mean. Um, yeah, it's just frustrating that there's no way of learning about this sort of stuff. It's all a mystery. And I know there are Freemason secret society rules and regulations and loopholes and things like that, preventing certain concepts of knowledge from being known to common folk like myself. Uh, Apparently, my grandfather was in some sort of, I don't want to say cultist because that doesn't sound nice. But anyway, my dad said one time to me that he was wearing kind of like an orange robe, and he went to the States, I think, or something like that, and he went to some ceremony, and it was very strange. Um, yeah, my dad was quite didn't know what to make of it. My dad doesn't even know what that was all about. Uh, Probably something he learned in India. Um, yeah, I don't even have the slightest clue where to look for that to learn about that. But I know lineage has been important in English society for probably hundreds, if not thousands of years. So my grandfather serving his time in India probably helped push my dad into, because my dad's had cool jobs. He's worked for Warner's, he's been a record distributor, he's met AC/DC, he's met Phil Collins, he's met Elton John. I'm not so proud to say that. Although I'm sure he's a nice guy, whatever. I just don't really care for his music, that's all. Uh, and Joni Mitchell, ABBA, whole pile of artists. Uh, Alice Cooper. Um, I have pictures if anyone's interested. I don't mind sharing them. Some people like to hoard their pictures and don't show anybody, but if somebody wants to see a picture and I have one, I'll show them. I mean, I guess I don't have any proof that that's my dad in the pictures other than it is. I could show you a modern day picture of him in comparison to an old picture of him, and you can see that it's him. He's just aged, obviously, because he's 73 years old, whereas he was like 45 or 40 when that picture was taken. Or probably 40, probably even younger, actually. Alice Cooper's pretty old, too. A lot of the rockers my dad took pictures with are, kind of old. And that's getting back to the lineage thing. It's almost as if my grandfather's service, even though he didn't see any benefits from it, his son did, and it's trickled down to me a little bit. I haven't met anyone famous. The one time, and I screwed it up when I saw him, and it was Trevor Linden. He obviously just came in there for mixed beans. I don't blame the guy. He doesn't want the constant attention, but I was just starstruck. Like I turned around and it was like he's so much taller than me. I just like looking at his chest and I look up and I go, oh, that's Trevor Linden. And I just went, you know what? I'll ask a coworker about it because I was new at my store. So I asked the coworker, and then he's like, "Oh, go have a look in the back." So he might have thought, "Oh, he's going to get people to go ask me a bunch of questions and things like that." And he looked kind of shook up, like he didn't, he wanted a quiet grocery shop, and I don't blame him for that. Um, yeah, so that was the one time I actually spoke a few words to someone who's, somewhat of a famous person. Uh, Yeah, so be a bit smarter about it next time, not get so starstruck. But it was a real cool experience. Anyway, so yeah, that's doesn't have much to do with the lineage I was talking about and my grandfather as military service. But it's something about I just I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. There's some concept out there that I don't understand, and I don't think I'd learn it by going to school necessarily. I think I'm deserving of getting invited into a secret society of some sort. Where we just talk about world politics and things like that, so I can see things from a new point of view, a new perspective. Um, well, anyway, I've kind of trailed off, gone on different directions in this video. Main thing is I wanted to, pay tribute to my grandfather who spent 15 years in the army fighting for the betterment of Western culture. So yeah, that's my piece. If you watch this video and you may have found it interesting, uh, yeah. Well, I'll see you guys later. Bye.